The history of Nazi Germany and its atrocities is one of the darkest periods in human history, and whilst the horrific crimes committed by the Nazis have been thoroughly documented, a lesser known fact is that quite a few modern businesses also have ties to the Nazis. Whilst we've looked at some specific cases in detail before, let's take a more broad approach. Here are a few famous brands with a hidden Nazi connection. To begin with, one of the most well-known companies with ties to the Nazis is a German auto manufacturer, Volkswagen. Currently, the car manufacturer is one of the biggest in the world, with ownership over many other famous auto brands. Whilst the company is well respected today, during the Nazi regime, the company was a key manufacturer of military vehicles for the German army. The company also used forced labour and concentration camps to build their products. And whilst in recent years, Volkswagen has acknowledged its past and taken steps to compensate, the question is, can actions like this ever be compensated for? If you wish to learn more about Volkswagen's affiliations with the Nazis, I recommend that you watch our short documentary on the brand's evil past. But moving on to another brand, another well-known company with Nazi connections is the Swiss bank UBS. During World War II, UBS was involved in money laundering and helped Nazi officials to evade taxes. And whilst this is bad enough alone, the brand's affiliation to the Nazi party continued after World War II, as the company provided financial services to war criminals and other Nazi sympathisers. Ultimately, the brand benefited from the evil of the Nazis, but the list goes on. Astonishingly, even IBM has connections to the Nazis, as during the war, IBM provided technology and logistical support to the Nazi regime, including helping create a database of Jewish citizens in Germany. This database was later used to identify and locate Jews, and we all know what happened next. Once again, this company has apologised and acknowledged its past, and in recent years the brand has committed to researching its history during the war. But really, is this good enough? Whilst you'd hope that the list of well-known brands with Nazi involvement would be over, the list sadly continues to grow. During the war, German auto manufacturer BMW produced aircraft engines for the German army and used forced labours from concentration camps to do this. Like other brands on the list, BMW has acknowledged this past and taken steps to improve, including setting up a fund to compensate forced labourers. Another company involved with the Nazis that you may have heard of is a German multinational conglomerate, Siemens. During Nazi rule, the company provided technology and logistical support to the Nazi regime. But this company takes an even darker turn, as the company also manufactured gas chambers and other equipment used in concentration camps. Just like other brands outlined though, evil this stark is so hard to come back from. And whilst this list has only looked at a few prominent brands so far, other companies with ties to the Nazis include Hugo Boss, who we've just published a video on, and Bayer, who at the time was a part of the company IG Farben, a chemical conglomerate that was deeply involved with Nazi operations. Whilst it's important to acknowledge that many of these companies have taken steps to outline and compensate for these former actions, evil outlined in this video shows how dark the history of some of Germany's largest brands truly is. The intention of this video is not to villainize these brands. As outlined, many companies have tried to make improvements, and I think it would be unfair to label these brands as Nazi affiliated in the modern day, being as they've done so much to improve. This video is simply intended to show you how evil big business can be sometimes. We've seen this in countless different companies before, how companies will do almost anything for profit, and unfortunately the dark period of Nazi power highlights the extreme end of this. Going forwards, analysing these historical business errors is important, especially at this level, so we can implore brands to never behave in this manner again, as oftentimes we as consumers need to put pressure on big brands, and unfortunately sometimes the onus is on the consumer to keep large brands in check. So there you have it. Did you know that this many brands were affiliated by the Nazis? Honestly, it's quite surprising. But once more, by keeping these companies in check, we can hopefully make sure that something like this never happens again and businesses never feel comfortable doing something so evil.